When I'm in dialogues with our customers, they not primarily ask for more AI. They want to have good service, they want to have a
Exactly.
good value for money, etc. So I think when you approach AI, it's about doing it in the right kind of sequence in the value chain. If this can make our HR leaders and HR colleagues out there spending more time upon the more complex people management matters, and that brings kind of shareholder value.
Martin, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Very well, thanks. The sun is shining and getting closer to Swedish midsummer, so all good.
Where are you based? Where are you based?
Based Stockholm, but as all of us traveling a lot. I mean, our major markets is US, France, Spain, UK, Switzerland. So predominantly traveling a lot, Europe and definitely US for a long time as well. So yeah, that's.
Very quickly, tell everyone a little bit about your background and journey, because I love you have such an interesting background and journey to where we are. And then a little bit about Loomis for people that perhaps aren't aware of the organization.
Absolutely, Chris. I mean, the short version, my own journey kind of started HR, but turned quite recently into sales marketing after ending my studies, and then spent 10 years sales marketing, and thought I should stay there forever because I just enjoyed it so much. But destiny wanted something else, so I switched over back to HR again then. So all in all, plus 20 years HR, and then plus 10 years sales marketing, and that ending up in a combined role today of Chief HRO and CMO for Loomis Group. Loomis Group, I mean, history started 1852 in the gold rush in Alaska and California. So we had actually Buffalo Bill and some other Wyatt Earp on the paychecks back then, managing the Pony Express. But nowadays, then handling cash globally, but also into total global payment as well as value handling in broader sense. There's a lot of high value things, let's put it that way, that needs to be both transported and stored in a high security environment. So
wow.
Major banks, major retailers, small, mid-size, large ones, business to business primarily. So that's Loomis in short. 25,000 employees, covering 27 countries today.
I didn't realize like how far back the heritage of the organization is. I think after 1,500 episodes of me doing interviews, that you might be the first CHRO / CMO.
Somebody shall take that position as well. So
I've had people come from being a CMO to CHRO and vice versa, but never holding the role at the same time.
But it's fascinating, Chris, how often it hits me that what you do versus customers, concept-wise, branding-wise, how super relevant it is to think customers and employees into very clear parallel tracks, kind of. So
100%.
It's gaining to have the dual perspectives constantly, kind of.
And that already comes across in the conversations, the very short conversation we already had, like that you have everything branded. Like talk about your why Loomis, for example.
Correct. Why Loomis is. I had a gathering for approximately 1.5 years ago with all my HR managers globally. And there was some kind of, not missing, but they clearly told me that we need to have a better understanding of why do we exist as a function. And with the great interaction with them, we created this why Loomis. And it's kind of an existential questions to raise to yourself almost on a daily basis. And we divided why Loomis into two major areas. The first one is, of course, the customers. Why should I choose Loomis today and tomorrow? Kind of what are the uniqueness that you get if you pick us instead of our competitors, kind of? And how important it is to constantly reflect upon that when you are operating this company. From a net value added perspective, service perspective, attitude, skills, etc. And the other dimension is then to raise the same question, why Loomis from an employee and talent point of view? why should I stay with Loomis as an employee, and or why should I join? What can Loomis offer me as a talent kind of? And the logic, Chris, is then that when you start to kind of backtrack this why Loomis from those two dimensions, it ends up pretty quickly into how important people management is.
Well, part of what you've done and you continue is obviously ongoing, right? There's no end to this work.
Correct.
Is you're setting a very solid foundation. So when things like, which we're going to talk about today, AI come into the fray, you have a good foundation to operate from. Right, here are our principles, here are our ways of working. So if you and then you look at things like AI, you have a lens in which to look it through.
No, correct, Chris. When I'm in dialogues with our customers, they not primarily ask for more AI. They want to have good service. They want to have
exactly
good value for money, etc. So I think when you approach AI, it's about doing it in the right kind of sequence in the value chain. So definitely bring in AI. We are using for the moment 3 very concrete AI-based tools. When you know your business plan, you know how to organize yourself. Then when it comes into job roles and specific identified job roles, that is where we use today something called Corex. And we have tried it out with success in US, in Spain, and now rolling it out in the rest of Europe. That is about identifying job roles based upon behavioral data and business data in order to, based upon those ones who perform exceptionally good in the job role. And based upon that profile, behavioral data and business data, that is where we identify then how should the preferred profile looks like when we do replacement or recruitment. And then we track and see how those new ones actually perform in the role. And that Corex tools have then also identified who are kind of average or perform relatively well, but need kind of senior kind of HR expertise to support to become even better. And that is where I think the HR locally should spend even more time. But in order to release time for local HR, we have then tested with success a tool called Nadia. It's a kind of an AI-based HR support to line managers, open 24/7, and really kind of handling, as far as I've been seeing, handling those kind of very relevant but daily questions around what to do, how to handle, etc. And it's actually able to feed in all our policies, guidelines, etc. We have done it in Norway with great success. I think the average net score was kind of 90% of managers in Norway were happy or super happy, kind of. So it obviously works, kind of. Here we actually have a tool that can release hours from local HR, even improving the service to line managers, but reducing the time you need to invest as local HR in order to instead invest those hours into more of the complex task that is coming out on the other end of Corex, kind of. So appraisal dialogue, what does the policy says? Am I allowed to do this or that? All those kind of questions has great support from an Nadia tool, kind of. And you can raise them no matter where you are, no matter what time at the day, kind of. So we have run Nadia in Norway. We definitely are with ambitions to broaden it internally in Loomis and secure that we have that tool in.
Yeah.
Hopefully covering all our markets.
Beyond usage metrics, personally, what do you hope the impact is? You know, what does success look like for you?
If this can make our HR leaders and HR colleagues out there spending more time upon the more complex people management matters that via the logic of why Loomis, that actually obviously is connected to how to keep customers staying with us, how to keep talent stay with us. If that is where you can invest more of your time relatively, I mean, then it brings shareholder value, kind of. Mm-hmm. So Nadia in my book is in a sequence in the value chain where it works as an enabler for HR to invest time in more of kind of highly relevant people management matters that matters for talents, that matters for customers, kind of.
You're on this journey with a couple of different partners, like you mentioned, but for people listening that are maybe new on their journey, what advice would you give to HR leaders that are just getting started with AI?
Don't start with a tool, kind of start with an conceptual idea around how are we kind of, what is our role in the value chain? How do we bring value to customers, whoever you're put to serve, kind of, but really have an idea around how do we create value for others in the value chain, and then rather put in the tools into the different steps, kind of. But don't start just with a tool, kind of. Have an own conceptual idea. And that should be my guidance.
Yeah, because it's very easy to get lost, right? There's all these new shiny tools and
yeah, I mean, you could, if you go wrong, you could actually implement a tool, no matter if it's AI or not, that only drives, cost efficiency or reducing time. But then I think you get a serious uphill kind of battle because that is hard to sell. You need to sell something that brings value, and not at least internally, kind of. And I mean, I from the bottom of my heart, I really want our HRs to be even more in topics and tasks that is kind of relevant according to their skills and experience, and not at least that are so complex so their skills and experience is needed. And we actually then can show this is actually in the end brings fundamentally influence and value to our talents, but also at least to our customers, kind of. That is a much better and funnier story to tell, kind of.
Well, I think to your point, one of the best ways to do that, and you've said this multiple times during the conversation, is to start with the customer.
Right.
If you start there,
think outside in. Think outside in.
Yeah, exactly. My friend Dave Ulrich would always say the same thing during all of our conversations. As well. And then you're really talking the language of the business, and you're solving a problem, right? And then you'll get the attention, the budget that you need.
I mean, no, it's in several areas now, and it's also shows how fundamentally important people management is, and how proud each HR person shall be dealing with people management, kind of. That's we are really directly or indirectly creating shareholder value, but you need to be able to tell the story, because there are some line managers out there who maybe not yet have seen the whole value chain. So you need to be the bridge builder in your story, in your concepts, kind of. But when you are, then it becomes obvious, and then it's kind of easier also for arguing around, investments, no matter if it's in tools or platforms or trainings or whatever it is. So
one of the cool things I want to share with the audience that you're doing internally, because communication is such a key part of this, right? How do you communicate this internally? And you've done something really interesting where you've launched your own internal podcast to have conversations with leaders and share. Are you leveraging that as a way to share some of the stuff that we've been talking about?
Yeah, no, that's true, Chris. Since approximately a year or something, you're running, I call it inside leadership. And it's just me kind of interviewing different managerial positions around the globe. And it's about, we are coming from and we still are a very entrepreneurial, decentralized concept. So the history of Loomis has been competing versus each other internally, kind of, which is partly a positive driving force. But the flip side of that is that we have not been good upon sharing time. And nowadays facing more of a value chain products and services. So we are more dependent internally on each other, but also we are then facing, as all companies, we're facing two new market conditions. So it's smart to share, kind of. And that is where the podcast comes into the picture, that interviewing managers around their success, but also sometimes, of course, be transparent around the mistakes we are making, kind of, and let's share.
I think this is so refreshing, And also, like we discussed before, you're meeting people where they're at. Like if they want to be able to listen to the podcast on the move and hear from the leaders, and the transparency about the good and the challenges that you're having as well is very important. And I think when we talk about AI and some of these investments you're making, to be able to share it within those platforms as well is just really interesting. To have open dialogue. Before I let you go, when you think about the future, when we look through an AI lens, obviously you spoke about some of the current use cases of where we are now. What are you most excited about for the future?
I mean, of course, it must be that the customers to Loomis are kind of super happy with what we deliver, and that they will gain, if not directly from AI, but indirectly gaining even more out of the value chain where we produce service and products towards them. And a lot of those different intersections in the value chain we'll probably see even more of AI, no matter if it goes to product, sales, HR, risk, compliance, etc. But what is really expectations from a customer point of view? I think they expect that we are super efficient, super kind of on toes to deliver optimal value. But it's maybe AI in the internal value chain rather in the direct interaction with customers, kind of. So. But it goes so fast, and it's just about having a clear view of your concept and then start testing different AI initiatives. Kind of that's. I don't know where the journey will end, but at least we start trying.
None of us know.
Pretty concrete, correctly. So
yeah. That's, I appreciate you taking the time, Martin, to join us, and congratulations on the journey so far. It is a journey, like we just discussed. Like none of us know. None of us thought we would be here where we are right now with how rapid AI has evolved, right? To where we are
amazing.
Now. It's incredible, right? Like you, and the reason we created this series is we want HR leaders to be the trailblazers, hence the name of the series, that are leading the way. And you are one of those people that are on that journey. So I appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure, Chris.
Before I let you go, where can people reach out and connect with you if they want to say hi? Would it be LinkedIn? Probably the best place.
Absolutely, LinkedIn. Absolutely, I'm definitely LinkedIn. So I'm super happy to get tips and tricks around what to do and what not to do, and maybe also sharing some mistakes from time to time. I mean, really, I think if we learn and develop together in general, I think that's a very humble approach. So
I agree.
Marten Lundberg.
Amazing. For everyone listening, the link will be below to connect with Martin as well. Also, make sure you go check out Loomis. One day, Martin, we're going to get your podcast on Spotify and Apple, and I want to see a LinkedIn newsletter as well. I think like the world needs to hear it as well. So maybe one day we'll make that happen. But I appreciate you taking the time, and I wish you all the best until we next speak.
Thanks, Chris. I probably need your professional guidance even there. So
sounds like you're already doing a good job. Thanks, Martin. Hey, Nadia, can you give me some constructive feedback on how I balance structure and authenticity in my podcast with Martin, and suggest some ways that I can improve for future episodes?
Chris, your episode with Martin struck a great balance between structure and spontaneity. You anchored the conversation with clear questions and showed real agility by following Martin's lead when something interesting emerged. To take it even further, consider limiting yourself to 3 to 5 essential questions and give yourself permission to lean into curiosity when the conversation's energy shifts. When a guest says something memorable, echo it back or ask a follow-up that gets to the human side of their story. Those spontaneous moments are often where the richest insights surface. One area for growth. After each interview, take a minute to jot down what genuinely surprised you or where you hesitated to dig deeper. That quick reflection will sharpen your instincts and help you spot even more opportunities for meaningful dialogue in future episodes.
Thanks, Nadia. Those are some great takeaways, and I'll keep that in mind for the next episode. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again soon.